come check out the Connection Games and Comics. We have the largest selection of War Machine and Hordes miniatures in the Lower Mainland. War Machine Wednesdays and Sundays, with tables and terrain to play your game.
Welcome to Wargamer Shut Up and Jam. I'm Steve, the producer.
I'm Logan, the noob.
I'm Mike, the memory.
And we're going to be talking about the Legion All-in-One Army box. Now, it comes with enough 35-point army, just like the rest of them. And in this army, you've got the Warlock Saren, Omen of Everblight, 3 heavies, one of which is the Scythian, second is the Neraph, and the third is the Angelius. A light, the Nephilim Bloodseer, a unit of Strider Rangers, and then the Strider Deathstalker solo, as well as 2 Shepherd solos, or Blighted Nyss Shepherd solos, as it were. And it's a pretty compelling list, actually. I think it does a few different things that I quite like. Like, one of the things that I feel it really does is it really shows somebody how to play Legion. Because you're not going to be relying on tons of infantry in general. You're going to be relying mostly on heavy beast lists, and this is what you get. So it really exemplifies everything that Legion stands for, which is kind of taking big heavy things, kicking open the door and blowing stuff up. So let's get into it. So we're first going to discuss the Warlock Saren, Omen of Everblight, although we're just going to call her Saren because that's, I guess, the accepted norm. And she is a really, really excellent all-around caster.
Her stat line's pretty damn good, I gotta say. Her weaponry obviously is not as nice, but both her Throne, Death Spur, and Death Spur itself both have grievous wounds.
Well, the thing about her Throne weapons is that she can fire them multiple times, so she can shoot up to 3 of them. And a model hit by the Throne Death Spur can't be healed, and they can't transfer damage. So it's and I think that's they lose that until the end of the turn, or end of the round anyway. So it sets you up for
1 round. It cannot, yeah.
So it sets you up for a really good assassination run. I mean, if you can't transfer damage away and you're playing against a Hordes faction, you hit their Warlock with it, and now they're just eating damage. Now their extra fury does nothing.
She also has Force Barrier, so that gives her +2 defense against any range attacks, and it grants her complete immunity to I believe it's blasts. Yes.
Yeah. So that puts her up to like defense 18 against range attacks, which makes her nigh unhittable by most things. I mean, I guess there's still stuff that can hit her potentially, but it's pretty gross. I don't know. What do you think about Saren overall?
She's pretty good. Can we call her super awesome, sexy ninja lady?
I think that'd be her sister.
No, she throws kunai. I mean, Rias has the katana.
Yeah,
they're both ninjas.
I feel like ninjas. I mean, how many ninjas are gonna magic things down?
Well,
Tons ninjutsu. What the fuck are you talking about, man?
We can all agree that Saren is definitely in the top tier of Legion's casters.
Yeah, I think. Well, I mean, tournament-wise, I think so. I mean, I don't know this tournament scene very well, but I know that
she's popular, definitely.
She's really popular. She brings a whole toolbox worth of stuff. She's got Banishing Ward, so she can get rid of enemy upkeep spells.
It's important to note that Banishing Ward can only be cast on friendly units, and only removes enemy upkeeps from your models that are affected by it.
Okay, fair enough. And then that can be huge. The coolest thing that I think she does is Blightbringer. Now, some people might disagree with this, I don't know. But what that allows you to do is it's a spell that targets a friendly model.
Friendly warbeast.
Okay, a friendly warbeast. And when you choose your target, you place a 5-inch AoE around them or on top of the model, and anything that's around it immediately takes a POW 12. Yeah, POW 12 corrosion damage roll. And that stays in place so that anything that enters its activation or moves into that area takes 1 point of corrosion damage. So this is for models similar to Saren, where if they've got super high defense but relatively low armor, you run a beast up like a Shredder or something that's not terribly consequential, and you throw Blightbringer on, and they just eat damage that they can't really deal with.
For example, it's very good against Khador's Winter Guard, Scorn's Praetorian Swordsman, and the Protector of Menoth's Exemplar Errants.
So it's an anti-tar pit.
It's an anti-tar pit. It's an anti-anything with high defense and low armor. It's a pretty versatile spell. It's a really good area denial spell. So, I mean, it's a 5-inch AoE, so the thing's like a pie plate. You put it in the middle of the battlefield next to like an obstruction of some kind, and all of a sudden your enemy can't move infantry through, or at least light infantry through, a huge portion of the battlefield. So that's to me, that's what Saren's big thing is. Now,
Her most useful spell, essentially.
I don't know if it's her most. Well, the thing is, she's got more stuff than that though. Like she's just total toolbox.
The only downside is that it costs 4 fury.
Yeah,
but she does have 7, so that does put her in the upper level of like fear.
That's right. But if you're doing that, I mean, that's what you're doing for the turn, more or less. Like,
yeah,
you know, you're not going to be doing that and casting spells at other things and doing a whole lot. I mean, you can, but you really want to hold on to some fury. Otherwise, you're screwed in a lot of cases.
The next spell is Breath Stealer. I think Breath Stealer is pretty powerful. It's a 2-mana spell. It's a range 10. Target model or unit suffers -2 speed and defense for 1 round. That's pretty painful. 2 fury. Fury, focus, whatever.
You called it mana.
Did I really?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I've been playing too many other games.
It's basically the same thing.
Whatever. Energy source. Whatever. It's only 2 costs, and that's a pretty powerful effect to put onto a unit, I'd say.
Well, for sure, especially against
-2 speed.
I mean, the minus to speed is a huge thing because anything that you're worried about charging you now can't charge you and is incredibly slow compared to whatever it was previously. The defense is nice, but I mean, I feel like the things you're going to be hitting with super high defense are going to be kind of a gamble for her anyway because her fury is 7. So, I mean, let's say you've got something with 18 defense. Well, the chance of her hitting, I mean, she could boost, but it's going to be.
It's the speed that'll be the killer.
To be fair, what the fuck has 18 defense?
Saren?
Winterguard Death Star?
Range?
But it's not a ranged attack.
Oh, that's right, it's a
spell.
Yeah.
Winterguard has 17 with buffs.
That's a good point. I mean,
the reason you cast this is so that your other shit... So you can either cast it defensively to stop something from charging, or you can cast it offensively to let your other models hit it.
Yeah.
Without boosting. Or
turn a slight possibility of missing into not missing at all.
Well, I guess my most recent game was against P Butcher, and he had that whatever the hell that spell is. It gives him +3 defense.
Iron
Flesh. And had I been playing Saren, which I wasn't, it would have been way easier to deal with that because my heavies couldn't hit him. Basically my entire army couldn't hit him, except for Absalom. She went in there and did work, but yeah, you're right. Defense 18, 17, 18 is not common in any respect. I mean, 16 is high for a Warcaster, I feel. And
high for a Warcaster, still pretty high for a Warlock.
Yeah.
Warlocks tend to be higher on the defense or on the
armor. Yeah.
There might be a couple solos that can pull off 18 with a cover or concealment.
I guess the major point is it takes those Warcasters or Warlocks or things that have that. And I mean, you're not going to be playing against them all the time, but it takes those and puts them back into like reasonable territory for the majority of your stuff to hit.
If you can lead it.
I think Breath Stealer would probably shine most in a case where maybe you realize that you've made a mistake and you've left Saren wide open, but by using Breath Stealer you keep it from getting charged or just murdered the next turn.
Well, that helps. I mean, but I'd say your feat's better at that mostly.
Yeah.
I play that once a game though. Something I want to add about Breath Stealer.
Sure.
You only cast it once a turn.
That's true.
That's important. It means that if you fail the first attempt, you're not going to get a second shot. It means you can't drop it on multiple units because that would make her broken as fuck.
Yeah, well, and I think that's, I mean, it's obvious that the spell is extremely powerful, and they put that limitation in there because otherwise, it's just
absolutely
way too oppressive.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you could be like, you can't charge because you all have speed debuffs.
Yeah, exactly.
Lol, I win. Who cares that I have an awesome feat when I can just make most of your stuff not be able to charge anyway? Now, her last 2 spells are Hellfire, which is basically just a damaging ranged spell, and I mean, it can make models make a command check or flee, but
it
that's
can hit
power 14.
It's power 14. It can hit a unit. You can wipe out an entire infantry unit out of that pretty easily.
No,
it's one model.
It's one model, and it's 3 focus.
A model/unit hit by Hellfire.
Yeah.
Must pass a command check.
Yeah, but they only take the damage to one model.
Oh, really?
It's a single target spell.
So
it has a null in the AoE.
Yeah. So, I mean, it is a high power spell, which is definitely going to be useful at certain times. I mean, even whipping off 2 of them, one of them boosted, against something that you can reasonably hit is going to do a bunch of damage.
This is what you do, Steve. This is what you do. You walk up into thrown weapon range of the enemy Warlock, who is knocked down because your heavy slammed him.
Yeah.
And then you throw your Death Spur at him, can no longer transfer damage, and you pump out 2 Hellfires.
Yeah.
You kill them.
Well, either you kill them or whatever you have left in that army
yeah.
kills them. But yeah, I mean, she can definitely be used in an assassination one in that manner. But when I've played her, I found that I didn't tend to use Hellfire a lot because it didn't seem to be necessary most of the time. Like, most of the time you can just set up, go in for like a major Alpha Strike feat, and then laugh while they do nothing. And then the next turn you get to just finish them off if they're not already dead.
It's important to note that it's an option, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Saren is a utility toolbox caster, and every option is just an extra out.
Well, exactly.
An extra way to win the game.
But it's the same thing with her final spell, which I think is probably the weakest of all of her spells, in my opinion.
I disagree.
Really?
I disagree.
Okay, we'll get into that in a second here, but it's respawn. So if it's an upkeep spell that you can place on a warbeast, and when that warbeast dies, it can come back with one box in each of its aspects and not be dead, but then respawn expires. It costs 3. It's an upkeep spell, so yeah, if you cast it early on, you can just upkeep it for 1. And I guess if you have the like the succubus, you can upkeep it for free, which isn't insignificant. But it is only the 3 extra, like the 3 health.
Yeah,
That
but that is your beast not being dead.
It also can make it so your beast is not disabled in every way for that next
Yeah,
turn.
but you can heal them that.
And then you get one more turn of just crushing people with that beast. And then if that beast dies next turn, who cares? He did his job.
The problem though is like if you want to cast Blightbringer and Breathstealer and you have to boost anything to hit, you don't have the fury to keep respawn up even, let alone cast.
That's why you keep respawn up
you
with
don't
Succubus or Silas or somebody like that.
But you don't need to cast everything every turn.
No, but I just feel like, I mean, okay, in the transit you're not going to need to cast Blightbringer. You have lots of options because you have 4 extra fury that's just kicking around.
Even on the turns you have to cast,
like,
or you want to cast Blightbringer, that's 4 of your 7 focus. 4 of your 6 if you upkept respawn.
So let's say, I mean, I would say that the most used spells by Saren that she has here are probably going to be Banishing Ward, Blightbringer, and Breathstealer. Hellspire and Respawn are the more situational, but I would think that she would want to keep Respawn up on a beast for free with a solo.
See, and
then use Banishing Ward, upkeep Banishing Ward with Saren, and then Saren has 6 Fury to cast both Breathstealer and Blightbringer on that turn.
I would say that I wouldn't even include Banishing Ward in that. I mean, that's just strictly situational. I would say Breathstealer you want to get off almost every turn if you can, like against whatever you can, because it's anything you want dead. Or you don't want to kill you,
provided it's in range.
And, yeah, if it's safe to do so.
It is still 10. It is still only a 10-inch range spell, and that does put you in range of a lot of things.
Unless you're running like.
We're talking about this box though.
That's true. Okay, in this box, yeah, absolutely. But the thing is, it's such a ridiculous spell.
It's a good spell,
and it's not super expensive to cast.
I'm not saying that it's a bad spell. I'm just saying that respawn is really, really, really good when it's properly used.
Yeah, fair.
Because you can recast it the next turn, like provided you're not letting your beast die twice in one turn, which you shouldn't be.
Well, I'm just thinking like let's say you cast it on a heavy. Anything's going to be able to take out your heavy is likely going to be able they'll likely have a way of doing that extra 3 points.
You can place it 3 inches away.
That's okay. That's a good
out
one.
of its melee range.
I mean, if it's a melee thing, then yeah, being able to place it 3 inches is a big deal. If it's a range thing, then 3 inches still might be a big deal.
A ranged model is probably not going to kill your heavy at range.
Even if it has 3 boxes, it's...
Yeah, but they're not going to kill it the first time at range.
No, probably not. It's probably going to be a melee thing.
Yeah.
And you make a good point. Like, the 3-inch placement is huge.
Let's talk about her disgusting as hell feat.
Well, so her feat is obviously one-time use. It only works for that round.
Thank God.
Or I guess that turn. Is it turn or round? Round? Okay.
It'll be used for this turn.
That's true. I get those terms mixed up, though. So, and what it does is it prevents anything in your battle group from being allowed to be targeted in melee. So, that's her, that's any of her beasts. Not the infantry, not the solos, but...
I'd like to point out that it is only small, medium, and large-based
models
in her battle group. Not huge-based models in her battle group.
Which you probably won't take anyway.
Hey man, what Blightbringer just got announced. That might be ridiculously awesome.
I'm hoping Blightbringer is so disgusting that...
She has its name in her spell list. She has to take it.
She really does.
It's mandatory. She has to take the Blightbringer Gargantuan.
The only problem is that her Blightbringer spell would be terrible on a Blightbringer.
Well, yeah, you don't cast it on, you don't cast it on the Blightbringer, you cast it on the fucking wasps it spits out. We're going off on a tangent here.
That's true. And I mean, maybe the Blightbringer is perfectly great, but her
feet doesn't affect it.
Her feet doesn't affect it regardless. So it's not huge bases.
So you dive in,
but
you dive in with all your beasts, and then you feet, and you don't care about the next turn, essentially, as long as you've kept Saren out of danger.
Well, and because you get, and we're going to continue on to this guy in a moment here, but because you get an Angelius in the box, having that extra turn where they have no option to hit you in melee is just gross. Like, especially because you could cast it and then charge in over top of whatever 3 strikes they wanted to make, and now no longer matter. So,
right.
I think that Saren's feat is probably one of the better feats in Legion.
It's probably one of the better feats in Hordes.
Probably. I just don't know the other armies quite as well as I know Legion, so I don't want to. I know that as soon as I say something like that, somebody's be like, no, these casters are also super great.
A lot of them have good feats, but the thing is, we're not saying it's in the best X. We're saying it's one of the better.
Yeah, that's true.
Definitely.
It's a fairly
and that's
and especially in Legion, where Legion is, in my opinion, a very alpha strikey army. Like you're really just gearing yourself up for that one turn where you go and just do as much damage as humanly possible, and it prevents you from being as punished for that. You can still be killed at range unless you're Saren, which is defense 18, and you don't care. So she's got a built-in way of maximizing that feat, but and her heavies are not going to take that much damage from range, especially the Angelius with the defense. But
clearly,
yeah. So she just does everything you could really want a Warcaster to do. She can debuff your enemies so your allies can get more hits in. She can do huge amounts of AoE damage. She's got zone control. She's got the anti-alpha strike retaliation button. She's disgusting. Like I feel like she might be misused in a lot of cases because she's not super one-dimensional. There's Warcasters out there or Warlocks that basically tell you how to play them on the card. They say, okay, you just go in, like, E-Striker, for example. He's got a good spell list, but his main thing is to go in and try and bludgeon something once really super hard.
Well, you don't bludgeon with a sword, Steve.
He could. He's strong enough.
I suppose.
Okay, well, Steve, I mean, it's Saren is a tool. I mean, like I said earlier, she's a toolbox caster. She's more or less a read and react caster. So you see what your opponent's doing, and you adapt to what they're doing, and then you attack in whatever angle they let them.
Well, the thing is, I always feel like she's a board control caster. Like I feel like she sets the pace for the games in a lot of cases, which isn't something that most of the other Legion Warlocks do. They so I think that for new players, some of them might look at her card and go, okay, well, I don't really see exactly how she's supposed to be used because she can do whatever the hell she wants. But I think that's very good for somebody getting into the game and learning Hordes and Legion, and although it teaches them how not to get. I mean, they don't get as punished for making bad decisions sometimes, but regardless, she's just amazing.
She does the things good.
I feel like you've contributed. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's move on to the first warbeast that I've got on my little list.
Scythian.
The Scythian.
Yeah. The Reach Beast.
I just want to say one thing before we get into the Scythian. I played a game against Mike very recently, and I got demolished. And we were talking about, okay, what could I have played better? Because I took kind of a less optimal list than I could have, playing Saren.
I'd like to call it a quoptimal list.
A quoptimal list. Because I wanted to try out something. I wanted to see how certain units work that I hadn't experienced and played with. And I think it's important to do. But I got just trucked. I got demolished. And we were talking about it, and it came down to, well, what happens if, like, what if I would have included a Scythian or two? And they would have been amazing. They would have made me so happy.
Jax and Beast with Reese. Reese, yes.
I love peanut butter cups.
With Reach are just... I feel like Reach is the best ability in the game. I agree. Reach is the best ability in the game. That extra 2 inches of reach to hit things is It does worlds of good.
I would agree that Reach is probably the best standard ability in the game.
Yeah.
But not for the same reason. To me, it's not a matter of like your threat range. It's the fact that if you have a beast with Reach, he's got a 2-inch area around him that you can't run past without taking a POW 16, POW 17 hit boosted.
I think right under Reach would be Pathfinder, but Reach is disgusting.
I don't know, but I mean, Pathfinder's really good, but I'm used to having it, so...
You see, Steve, when everything you have has Pathfinder and Eyeless Sight...
It doesn't seem like they're all that powerful, but...
Yeah, even though they just ignore half the rules in the game.
So that's it. Okay, well, let's rewind a second.
And then Blood Creation also, so it cannot frenzy and hit its own unit. So let's just keep talking about how disgusting your beasts are.
Let's rewind a second. Let's actually discuss Legion beasts in general.
Okay.
The majority of Legion beasts have either Pathfinder or Flight.
Yep.
They have either Pathfinder or Flight. They have...
Every Legion Beast has Eyeless Sight.
They're all blind.
Every Legion Beast has Eyeless Sight.
I think that, yeah, that's probably right.
No, it is. None of them have
I was
eyes.
trying to think of, like, maybe there was one that didn't have Eyeless Sight, but yeah.
There isn't.
Eyeless Sight is a huge ability against...
everyone.
Not necessarily everyone.
Yes, everyone. If you play with terrain on your table, Eyeless Sight is a big fucking deal.
Okay.
They can see into your mind.
So Eyeless Sight's huge. The fact that they're all...
Either men talk.
The majority of them, if not all of them, are soulless.
All of them are soulless and blood creation.
So they don't fuel things like a lot of things that rely on souls, like Krix or Menoth. And their blood creation. So unlike other factions, if with poor positioning, if you overload a beast with too much fury, it can charge your Warcaster. Legion just doesn't do that. They just don't include the Warcaster in the priority list.
Legion beasts ignore the rules. Steve, they're broken.
Warlock.
Your faction's beasts are broken.
Well, okay. Now,
they ignore the rules.
I started off playing Legion. I've played many other factions since then, but Legion is the one that is kind of my primary right now, and I love them for a lot of that stuff, like a lot of the rule breaking, the fact that they're in general faster than other warbeasts, with the exception of Circle. Circle's got some mad speeds going on.
You're still faster than most of them.
The thing is, like, Legion doesn't have any way of boosting that speed, so you can't get like the crazy ridiculous threat ranges, like the Karn cannon we were talking about before. That kind of thing doesn't exist in Legion, which is
Smaller Karn doesn't have Pathfinder.
Okay, but still.
He can't charge through a forest.
He can't.
Or a cloud.
Yeah. See, the thing is, you can charge through. Okay, the forest could be 10 inches wide. You can see right through it. Doesn't matter.
As discussed in our forest tutorial, we don't want a forest that's 10 inches wide.
I'm just saying. Like, if there was ever a game where the entire battlefield was a forest, Legion wouldn't care.
That's true.
That would be a horrible fucking game.
I know.
We're getting off topic.
I'm just saying.
The one thing that the Legion beasts have going against them, or counting against them, is in general they're more expensive than other factions' war beasts.
Well, they better be.
And they should be. Like they get so much, and usually it's only an extra point or 2 points based on like what other factions could get for the same kind of thing, less the special abilities, like Pathfinder, like Eyeless Sight, like.
Soulless blood creation.
Soulless blood creation. That's not to say that they are the best beasts in the game, because I don't know that that's necessarily true. But they, as a faction, have very, very strong, compelling beasts. And then, of course, Legion, as a faction, generally has... they pay for it in the infantry. Like, their infantry are probably the worst in hordes, or the game in general.
Like you need them.
You just say that because you never use them.
No, I've used them. I've used swordsmen, which have never really felt all that great. I've used the archers, which have a corner case in like E-Lilith lists. But in general, like when you compare what you get for the points in Legion for infantry versus anywhere else.
Let's get back to the Scythian.
Yeah. Anyway,
so
the Scythian's got a couple of major things going for him. So he's on a Carnivian chassis, which gives him the Pathfinder, and he's gonna have armor 18, defense 11, that kind of thing. He's gonna be speed 6, and he's got 2 scythes. For hands, big scythe hands.
Reach 2 or Reach with POW 17, and they have Chain Attack Bloodbath. What this does, it's if this model hits the same target with both of its initial attacks with this weapon, after resolving attacks, it can immediately make one melee attack with this weapon against each model in its line of sight that is in this weapon's melee range.
Now,
that's pretty fucking good.
On paper, that sounds amazing. The problem, so to speak, with the Scythian is that he's hitting at POW 17. So
big problem.
Well, so the point I'm getting at, though, is the chances of you actually hitting and not killing the same model after the first hit, especially if you're going into infantry, which is where Bloodbath is going to be the most advantageous, are pretty slim. So you want to set it up, if ideally you want to charge into something like a heavy, or you want to charge into something that can take at least the first hit and survive, and then take the second hit, and then you're good to go. In my experience, that situation doesn't come up anywhere near as often as I'd like it to. It's very rare. When it does work, it's fantastic.
I'd say it's you don't have to do it. It's just a nice little bit of flavor.
But yes, in an ideal situation, if you can get up, you make your 2 attacks, and maybe you kill the thing that you're attacking. Maybe you don't. But then being able to blend infantry or blend whatever the hell else is there at POW 17 is amazing. It doesn't happen that often. To me, the big thing about him is his Slaughterhouse Animus.
You know what usually survives 2 hits at PS17?
Heavies?
Yeah, which takes a 3rd hit at PS17 as a result. It's a free initial.
That's true.
And then you just keep add 4 more attacks, and you just
potentially.
And possibly a 5th, and just make it frenzy.
But getting his Animus getting takedown is amazing, especially against things like trolls, against your what the hell
both Mormanas.
Both Mormanas. Well, the thing is that Gator guy that gave your guys tough. That was the thing that got me. I couldn't get through your infantry because they kept you get the tough roll and they get to stand there and be in my way.
Yeah, it also removes them from play, so I can't return them.
No, I know, but against when we were playing that game, had I been able to just remove them, had they not been able to get those tough rolls, I would have had an incredibly easier game. And that's that. I think that Animus can't be understated. It's not going to be useful in every game, but in the games that it's useful, it's going to be extremely useful.
Interestingly enough, with this Warlock, it's less useful because she can apply. She can remove tough from 3 models.
All right, with
Death Spur.
That's true.
Or shit.
Yeah, against Saren, she can do it herself, which is fantastic. But to have that built into a heavy that then, let's say you weren't using Saren, let's say you're using Thagrosh or any of the melee warlocks.
Right.
They could throw it up on themselves and just go to town. They don't care.
I feel like we should be talking more about the confines of the box, though.
Yeah, you're right. So the Scythian, I think, is a fantastic all-around beast, and he's not that expensive for Legion. He's 9 points. For Legion, 9 points is pretty cheap.
For a speed 6 Pathfinder Eyeless Sight heavy with 2 PS17 reach attacks, 9 points is pretty cheap. Shut up about Legion.
Okay, Steve,
faction irrelevance.
Steve, you're spoiled for beasts. Okay? All right, next one though.
So the nenext one I've had less. I've had no experience with. I don't own one. I haven't played with it yet. So I'm really excited about getting one in the box and getting to play with it and see how it works out. Because it's a new one. It's a Neraph. And he's coming in at a discounted 7 points.
This one has Isle Sight and Flight. Not Pathfinder.
Well, that's the thing. Legion beasts are going to have Flight or Pathfinder.
So it's better than Pathfinder instead of being Pathfinder.
That's right. But it does have Isle Sight, and it's similar to the Seraph, except he doesn't have. I don't think he's got any sort of
doesn't have range attack.
And also it is Serpentine, so it cannot make any slam or trample power attacks. But it also cannot be knocked down.
All of the flyers are like that. All of the snaky flyers in Legion. So the Angelius we talked about.
Okay, but I
think the only one that flies. Well, I guess now we have the new dude. I can't remember what he's called.
Again, off topic for the box.
So the Neraph's got a couple things going for him. He doesn't have the same armor 18. He's a little bit less than that. He's 16.
Defense 14, armor 16.
Yeah. Okay. So he's got defense 16.
Defense 14.
So he's got defense 14, and that's going to make him pretty hard to hit for heavy in general. Going from 11 to 14 is a huge jump in terms of what will hit you on average.
Yeah, you generally need to boost with most heavies.
Yeah.
Since they'll usually have max 6 or less.
Yeah. The Serpentine Jacks or Warbeast the Serpentine warbeasts are not going to be. They're not going to have as many boxes. They're not going to be quite as tough. They're not going to be as expensive. But then he gets to fly and.
I was going to note the Neraph doesn't have any range attacks, but it has 2 melee attacks. Interestingly enough, you actually want to have your initial be the weaker weapon, which is the grasping tail, because of its ability called coil. When this model directly hits a model with this weapon, its melee attacks against that model automatically hit for 1 turn. So as long as you hit with that first one, you can just boost another 5. You can use your hammerhead.
See, the thing is
for power 16, and then boost another 4 power 16 attacks, which it hit automatically.
I mean that's pretty true. Well, I mean that's true, but the thing is. But at the same time, you're then kind of wasting your boosted damage roll on the charge.
Not necessarily.
Well, because if you use that as your initial, I mean it's POW 14, so you're only down by 2 POW, but that can be significant against something that's like armor 18, for example. I mean, I guess you can pay the one fury to boost the damage.
Well, I mean,
it's actually mathematically irrelevant against armor 18.
I was going to say the thing is because like if they have armor 18, the hammerhead is POW 16, so that's -2 on the dice, so that you have your initial with hammerhead after hitting with grasping tail, which hits automatically, and then 4 more hits with hammerhead that hit automatically.
Grasping tail doesn't hit automatically. You have to hit the model first.
Oh no, I'm just saying in the context that you do hit with the grasping tail first. Every other attack afterwards is hits automatically. So even at armor 18, the other weapon, the hammerhead weapon, is POW 16. That's -2 on the dice. You're still hitting pretty hard on every roll, unless you're blowing every roll.
No, but what I was saying though is that if you use the charge attack damage on the grasping tail, you're down 2 damage.
No, you're not.
Why
not for your activation, unless you're attacking a target that's armor 22.
Oh really? Okay, well why is that?
Because when you attack a target that's armor 21 or less. So you're getting your dice damage, which at 21 on average is going to be 0. 14 plus 7, which is the average roll of 2d6, is 0 damage. You add the 3rd die and you get the full die worth of damage.
Okay, so like 3.5 or 3.
Yeah, which is the same benefit you'd get if you boosted the hammerhead.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Anything lower than that, it's the same. You're still adding the full die on. When you start getting into... Like if your target is armor 22 or higher, which very few models have.
Yeah, not very many.
Then you start losing. You lose like a point of damage and then 2 points of damage. So that you would for those two. So it's actually just between armor 22 and 24 roughly that you're losing damage on that die.
Okay, and I guess for the first one, you probably want to boost the hit, but you.
This is why I said this beast is slightly unconventional. Is because you want to hit with the weaker weapon first.
I guess unless it's higher than armor 22.
Yeah, if it has heinous armor, you shouldn't be sending a Neraph at it in the first place.
Probably not.
Yeah.
It's not going to crack Terminus or a Crabjack open.
Or a Conquest.
Yes, right. Well, no, I mean, it's not great at hitting a Conquest.
Well, I'm just saying, armor 22.
Now, the Animus to me is a little weird. Because
Vortex.
he doesn't have anything, like the Neraph doesn't have anything that threshers, or doesn't have anything that does attacks to everything around him.
Also doesn't have reach.
He also doesn't have reach.
Well, that's him.
Well, I guess
makes Vortex a benefit.
Yeah,
I feel like it's more or less just to pull things out of the way. And then so I guess infantry. So you pull some infantry out of the way, and you open up a charge lane for the Scythian, or you open up a charge lane for what's the other one, the Angelius.
Well, so I mean, okay. So what Vortex does is it pulls everything that's within 2 inches of the Neraph in towards it by 2 inches, right?
Directly 2 inches toward it in the order you choose.
So, I mean, yeah, it can help clear charge lane. It can help group things together. I guess with Saren, you can group things together and then pop Blightbringer onto her.
Are there any blasts in your list? I didn't really get it.
Well, Blightbringer is the big.
So you give Blightbringer to Neraph. You send it in Vortex.
Well, you pull Vortex in first, and then you Blightbringer.
Sorry, I got that order, but there you go. So like there's a great synergy right there.
No, I feel like that would be really good with like Callus, who's got the flashing blade thing.
Again, out of box.
So
okay.
Again, part of this is like. This is the army they're going to start off with. It's not going to be the army that they end up with.
I know, but like I feel like this is the all-in-one army box discussion.
Yeah, you're right.
We should be.
You're right. No, fair enough.
Especially since Callus is such dog shit.
He's not though. We had this. Oh, anyway.
It doesn't mean he's unplayable. I just don't like him.
Okay. Anyway, let's keep going.
So I mean, it's definitely not on the Neraph. It's not meant to be necessarily a offensive thing. It's going to be a board control thing. It's going to be I mean, you could use it as an offensive thing, but you have to pair him with something else. Like
It's a nice little synergy with Blightbringer. Let's be honest. Like it's honestly just the best thing you could. In this list, it's probably the best thing you could give Blightbringer because of Vortex.
Well, yeah, especially because I mean,
because
in the list, you don't have any lesser that are disposable.
Yeah.
The other thing is because you have 3 models that can cast it in this list, it gives you a lot of flexibility with opening charge lanes.
What's the third model?
Bloodseer.
Oh yeah, because the Bloodseer can cast a friendly animus.
Yeah.
Ah, that's right.
So because you've got 2 beasts that have flight that have speed 6, you can move them both out around a group of models and have them both cast the animus, which doesn't require attack rolls or anything, to peel open a charge lane for your Scythian.
That's true. And I mean, I guess with proper positioning, that could be pretty disgusting.
It's not hard to position that properly.
No, I guess run beast that way, okay, we do it.
Yeah.
No, I mean, that's a really good point. Because, I mean, like, I was watching when you were playing that game as Kador, the thing that ended up getting you was the thing that would have been easier for him to get you with was that charge lane, and it was just the one or 2 models that were in the way.
Yeah, of course.
Blocking you. So if you had the ability to just, part the seas of bad guys and send in your own bad guy, he's going to wreck house. So that's yeah. This list has got a lot of flexibility to it.
The Neraph is a great fit with Saren.
Yeah, well, I think he's for 7 points. He's a good fit in any list.
Of course. Not any list, but it's fairly flexible.
Well, I was looking at it. I mean, I play a lot of PF Saloni. I was thinking, throw him in there and just get 6-point heavies for. Yeah.
All right. Next on the list is the Angelius.
Now, the Angelius is regarded by some, probably many, to be Legion's best warbeast.
It's a really good beast.
Along with this is another Serpentine and Flying beast.
Yeah.
Just to
Flying Serpentine. He's got 17 armor and 14 defense, so he's actually a bit more defensive than.
So it's got speed 7.
And he's speed 7.
And of course has Isle of Sight, Blood Creation, and Soulless.
Yeah,
and flight.
I figure just at least get him on the list so everyone knows.
He does have a breath weapon, or is it a breath weapon or just a range?
It's just a range attack.
Okay, he's got a range attack.
Range 12, POW 12. That has both fire and has crit fire.
Yeah, but his big thing is his tail attack, which is
has reach.
It has reach.
POW 14.
And it's POW 14, but it's got armor piercing. Or it's got an armor piercing
special attack.
So you can only do that once per turn, but what that does is it halves the enemy's armor before you do your damage.
If the target has a medium or large base.
Yeah. Otherwise, it gives you plus 2 damage bonus. So I mean, okay, against a small base, you're doing POW 16s, which is still enough to kill a warlock or warcaster anyway. So under most circumstances.
Yeah.
But
it's an alpha strike. It's an alpha strike creature.
And the thing is, he can get in there. Do a huge amount of damage, and then he's got repulsion, which lets him get a little bit out.
Well, it pushes things away. Yeah. Again, adding a ridiculous amount of flexibility to what this army can do in terms of repositioning enemy models.
Yeah.
Because again, you have 3 models that can cast repulsion.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, it's easy to forget that you give these things to the Warcaster as well.
Mm-hmm. And in this case, the Bloodseer also.
And the Bloodseer. I don't have a Bloodseer. I've never used a Bloodseer.
You will soon.
Well, I will soon, and I'm going to get some good use out of it. But I'm forgetting that he can do that. Like, I'm forgetting that what having him in the army offers.
This list has some great
to the army in general. Now,
and the last one we have to cover is on this one is Overtake.
Yeah, Overtake's pretty good. When you kill a guy, a warrior model, you get to move an inch.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty sweet. Although if you use your initial attacks and you bought attacks, can you still tail strike at that point?
Yeah, you can still tail strike. You don't get armor piercing.
Okay, what I mean is
you make the special attack as your initial attack. So no, you can't overtake and then use armor piercing, the special attack. But if you need to get to a warlock that's behind a couple of dudes, you can
feet and fly over.
You could do that, but
this gives you an
overtake gives you extra range.
Yeah.
So instead of just charging 10 inches with flight and threatening another 2, You can then kill a guy, so threaten a 13th inch, kill another guy, threaten a 14th inch, and then still have 2 extra attacks kicking around to buy to kill your last target.
Well, that is part of the threat range we're talking about. Yeah.
It's not going to be useful in every situation, but like Saren, it's another option. It's another option you can use, creating a very difficult predicament to avoid caster assassination.
Well, and that's true. I mean, ultimately, even if all you did with it was like fly into a group of infantry, kill a guy, move 1, 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 feet.
Yeah, I mean,
how is the enemy warlock or warcaster going to get away from you for the next turn? I mean,
some could.
Some could.
There are some very mobile casters. Like I suppose like Peace Orchestra could get away, could just fly away.
But the point is like it. And then okay, then let's say they managed to get away.
But the thing is that's a wasted turn you spent running away.
Well, and maybe you're standing on the objective now.
Yeah.
Or you force them off the objective. So.
You can also do that with repulsion.
Yeah. So he only comes in at what is he 9 points? So
same as the Scythian.
So he's not even expensive for all that he offers the army. So those are the 3 heavies, and they're a huge component to the army. Yeah. But the next guys are Nephilim Bloodseer, and
this guy's gross. What the fuck, Steve?
He's
a 5-point light, speed 6, power 12 reach.
18 armor, which is pretty solid.
Eyeless sight and flight.
Yeah, but does not have Soulless or Blood Creation.
Just because he's not on the Carnivian chassis. He's
on light. I was actually mistaken. I thought every Legion Beast had those, but apparently it's not. Not the Nephilim.
But like we were talking, his big thing is being able to use the anime of everything.
Primal Magic.
That's
which is
one
the
of
name of
his
the abilities.
Well, okay, but I think that's his. Probably his premier thing.
Look, you're not looking at his own animus. You're not looking at telemetry.
Now, if he uses Primal Magic, can he also use his animus?
No.
Okay.
The Primal Magic reads, this model can use the animus of any friendly faction, non-character warbeast in its command range as if the animus were its own.
Okay.
If it uses an animus as though it were its own, it's being forced to use an animus.
Okay. So what does his animus do? His Witch Blast? Because his offensive capabilities in melee aren't that fantastic. He's got 3 Fury and he's got a POW 12 attack with reach, admittedly, but
a POW 12 attack that does have brutal charge. So at least on the charge you're getting +2 to the attack damage.
Sure, but what I'm saying is that he's compared to the other beasts in Legion, he's not really that spectacular in melee. His thing isn't melee damage. His thing is
it's not.
Is this utility.
So Witch Blight is a 2-cost animus. It's only self-cast, so you can only cast it on himself, or Saren can cast it on herself as a spell. When an enemy model casts a spell within 5 inches of a model with Witch Blight, increase the cost by 1.
Okay.
In addition, enemy upkeep spells cannot be upkept on models within 5 inches of this model.
Oh wow.
Which means you're putting a serious dent into any sort of defensive focus or fury efficiency. So, for example, against Peace of Arius, who has Defender's Ward, if you run up the Nephilim Bloodseer just close to the unit that has Defender's Ward on it, pop the Animus and feed, it's not going to die, and he's going to have to spend 2 focus to recast that instead of just upkeeping it for 1.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, then that's in the case of Sirius, it's really going to hinder him from being able to cast all his spells, which is something he wants to do. Stop shaking your goddamn leg.
I see the Nephilim Bloodseer as definitely something. If you are the opponent, get rid of this guy as soon as possible.
Well, the thing is, he's got armor 18, defense 12, and he's not going to be up in your face, generally speaking. So
I feel like until it's too late.
I feel like he's kind of as you just said, he's kind of like Menoth's choir in that. You're right. He is a very important piece. Like, I mean, he's a very important piece. But and the opponent wants to get rid of him, but it's very hard to get to him before he's already done his damage.
See, to me though, I'd say he's a considerably lower priority target than the choir.
The choir I remember asking Mike once, but like when it comes to peeling the onion that is Menoth, I've used this metaphor before. The choir is usually one of the first things you want to get rid of.
Yeah, but in the case of
the choir is not the outer layer.
And they're at the very back.
Well, and in the case of this Legion list, if you're focusing your damage and your efforts on the armor 18 light beast that Legion's bringing for 5 points,
I don't think you should focus on everything on it, but you want to get rid of it as soon as possible.
I mean, the thing is, against this list, you're dealing with 3 heavies and Saren. He's good, but I don't know that he's a bigger priority than almost anything in the list. Like, being able to cast that extra Animus is going to be great. Being able to restrict your opponent from being able to cast extra spells and stuff like that from just focus efficiency is great.
Giving your other friendly faction models +2 to magic attack rolls, so just helping your caster if she's anywhere nearby.
In this list, not as significant.
Wasn't someone complaining just a while ago about Breath Sealer being hard to hit on high defense targets?
Breath Sealer? Yeah, well, I mean...
There you go.
No, well, being relatively hard to hit, sure. We had a little guy whining from the other room. He wanted to come join us, so I felt...
The dog is teleported into frame.
Yeah. Bam! Pew!
Magic.
Okay.
Top aisle.
Okay, buddy? Alright. Okay. So yeah, I mean, like I was saying, the Nephilim Bloodseer, I don't think he is going to be the guy that you target necessarily.
Okay, so like I was just discussing off camera there with Mike. I feel like that the Bloodseer is something I would send infantry at. I would either just in my case, like I would send either a unit of infantry that can hit decently hard, because although it has armor 18, it doesn't have that many boxes.
No.
Or I'd send some heavy infantry at it. So in my case, I'd send like Man of War Demo Corps. Like I'd send between 3 to 5 of those, depending on what caster I'm running and or how confident I'm feeling.
I mean, I think one of the awesome things about this guy is that he's only 5 points. So let's say you send your Demo Corps or Man of War Demo Corps at him.
9 points to kill a 5-point unit.
Exactly.
Man. That's still a lot.
And they might take a little bit of time to kill him. Like, he's armor 18. It's not like he's a pushover, but
I'd have to be rolling pretty well to get to make that efficient.
Well, exactly. So even if he ties him up for a turn, that's pretty significant.
Yeah. But also at the same time, they have reach. So wherever I dove them, they now have reach to free strike whatever passes by.
Sure, but I mean, like let's say, I mean, he's got reach too. But let's say he's let's say that you've got your demo corps and they've charged him. They haven't killed him. Well, now he can cast repel, and now unless they were touching his base, they're out of melee range, and he can just charge in, or he can piss off. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I just think that I think that although I did use the wrong wording before and put a little too much importance on the Bloodseer, you are underestimating him. He's pretty good, man. He's for 5 points.
No,
he's fantastic.
For 5 points, he's absolutely fantastic. Absolutely. I just think like this list has a lot of things that are pretty like I want to deal with them all right now.
The Bloodseer is an extension of the toolbox of this list.
That's true.
It
makes
it's
Saren
incredibly versatile with the other models you have access to, because it has the ability to pull, to push, to deny upkeep spells, to make spells cost more. It can do a lot of different things.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that he lends himself well to an army like this, where you have a versatile list of animi spells. Like you don't have anything that's really going to be wasted.
Right.
And ultimately, like even if you're just to run in and nuke a troll, giving himself Slaughterhouse, that'd be
also
fine.
true.
So yeah, I mean, I think he's fantastic. For 5 points, he's even better. But there's a lot of scary stuff in this list. The next thing we've got are the Strider Rangers, and initially I wasn't sold on them, and then we had a bit of a discussion, and Mike explained to me just kind of how nuts they are.
Pretty good.
So they've got Pathfinder Advanced Deploy. They are primarily a ranged unit because their melee is garbage.
It's still decently accurate, but it's not great.
Mat 5, POW 9s.
Yeah.
If they're in melee, they're dead.
Not necessarily. They're defense 15.
If they're in melee, you screwed up. That's basically how it is. Or you just threw them at something to block the way.
I mean, I think the big thing is like defense 15 and stealth.
Of course.
So.
Is that?
Hold on.
I'm sorry.
Minor range attack.
Okay, I thought it was either gunfighter or virtuoso.
You're gonna go down here.
You see, there's 2 ranged weapons in the picture.
Okay, so yeah.
Okay, so having stealth, advanced deploy, pathfinder, and combined range attack or CRA makes them just a scary unit. Like they can get to basically anywhere they need to be on the field to have something effective against anything really. Like they can do what POW. I guess they could do 2 POW 16s.
So
They
they have.
two POW 14s.
It's important to note that they're speed 7 with 12-inch range longbows.
Yeah.
Which means that they threaten 19 inches from where they started the turn, and they can start the turn 6 inches ahead of your other models.
Mm-hmm.
So they can threaten a large chunk of your opponent's army on the first turn, provided you go second, and maybe even some of it if you go first, like some of their advanced deploy stuff. You can combine their ranged attacks in many different ways. You can take 6 POW 10s, you can take 3 POW 11s, 3 POW 12s, and the POW 12s would be at Rat 8. You could take 2 POW 13s at Rat 9. Like they're very versatile in what they can do.
Mm-hmm.
So they can either pump a shot, a big shot into a heavy, or pump tons of little shots into little guys at good accuracy.
Yeah. And then I mean, with the Strider Deathstalker that comes in this box, although the Strider Deathstalker is a solo, they then get Swift Hunter and Snapfire, right?
They don't get Snapfire.
No, leadership is
get
only.
Snapfire.
It's only.
They just get Swift Hunter.
Okay.
So
after they destroy an enemy model, they can make a 2-inch advance. So if they need to be slightly closer to something for next turn, they can be. If they need to be slightly further away, like they can move. That 2-inch of movement gives them.
It'll usually be a retreat.
Fair.
They're actually Steve. They're quite literally just a better version of my Widowmakers.
They
No,
don't have sniper.
they don't have sniper.
The
Deathstalker
Deathstalker at least has sniper, but I mean they're still pretty damn good. I mean, I don't get combined range attack. You get or I don't get combined range attack. I get sniper. You get combined range attack.
Yeah, but they're different. The thing is, you also can do an auto point of damage, whereas they can't. Which is
That's the sniper rule we're talking about.
okay.
Yeah, I was saying like it's a trade off. You get combined range attack. I get sniper.
So I mean, to me, that's very different purposes. But regardless, I mean, what I would probably use them best or most for is I'd keep them inside of a forest.
Keeping them inside of a forest is irrelevant.
Or rather, I would move them out of a forest, shoot something, move them back into the forest.
If you're looking for like concealment, they probably have stealth.
Well, they do have stealth.
What I'm saying is, it will very seldom matter if you're in the forest, because you can't get more than 2 inches into block line of sight completely.
Mm-hmm.
So you're only getting +2 defense against attacks that probably can't hit you in the first place, because they're probably originating from more than 5 inches away.
Okay. Well, what about on the other? Like, if you're on the other side of a hill, say, and you moved up to it, or no, I guess you have to move up after.
I think you're overthinking this.
Maybe.
It's really like
You have stealth. Come on.
because they have stealth. They're not going to care too much about enemy shooting.
I guess ultimately one of the better uses for them would be like you move up altogether to make sure everybody's in range of the CRAs, and then you can spread them back out to avoid blast damage. Maybe that would be the better use of it.
Of Swift Hunter?
Yeah.
I say that Swift Hunter is best used as extending safe threat range.
Okay.
Because if you move your models within 12 inches, 12 inches is a pretty long distance, but there's certain models and certain factions and feats that can threaten larger than 12 inches. You kill a couple models and you retreat so that you're no longer in retaliation range.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
I mean, to use another quick example, like, this is a really weird example, but say something has 8-inch range and speed 4. Like, I don't know, maybe Winter Guard with Breath Stealer on them.
Okay.
Then they have an effective 12-inch threat. So if you, for whatever reason, failed to kill your targets, which may not be the front models.
Might be like the second model.
Yeah, it might be like the second row or whatever. If you didn't kill them, if you didn't have Swift Hunter, even if you kill your targets, you're still in threat range.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you move back 2 inches, and now you can't be targeted by those sweet, sweet Winter Guard sprays.
That's true. I still think the spreading out more for the blast purposes is pretty good because they're armor 11 and they're super high defense and they've got stealth. So chances are, if a range attack is going to be killing them, it's going to be a blast.
Okay.
But
I just don't think you need to clump up that much when you're making your attacks.
No, well, I mean, it depends on what the line of sight issues are at the time. So I guess that's really all that there is to say about them. They're fairly versatile in being able to hit either high defense things with higher armor, or they can hit multiple things pretty well. And they've got the movement to back that up. They can do it safely, which is positive because there's only 6 guys in the unit, which is their downfall. They really need to get the most out of each shot in order for the unit to be effective.
They're mostly just going to clear charge lanes for your Scythian anyway.
If the other beasts don't.
Well, if they clear charge lanes for your Scythian, it frees the other beasts up to do other stuff.
That's true.
So, I guess we should just go through the Death Stalker quickly. The Death Stalker is basically just an improved version of your Striders, and it has Sniper, which basically means as long as it hits something, it can automatically deal 1 point of damage, which is great for infantry, and it's great if you want to just knock out that one last point on a Warjack or a Warbeast. And then it has Snapfire, so it does have the possibility to take out 2 infantry instead of 1.
Not only that, but it's Rat 8.
Yeah.
So if it's standing to fire, you're Rat 10.
It doesn't need to stand to fire most of the time. It's got speed 7 and Rat 8.
Yeah. And then if you absolutely need to be in melee, it's got Mat 7.
I know that there are people I've played against out there that have a particular hate for this model because it's very hard to kill with 5 boxes in stealth and defense 15.
Those players don't play Mana Wars.
Those players may not play Mana Wars. And they can just pick apart units, especially against something like the Widowmakers, where you just, kill a guy, now you're down to half effectiveness, you have to make a command check, and you can't retaliate because of stealth.
Stealth and distance.
Stealth and distance. So for 2 points, it's probably one of the best solos in Legion.
Pretty good.
Legion doesn't have a huge amount of really good solos, I feel. But the Strider Death Stalker is definitely one of them. The last thing that's in the box is a couple of Blighted Nyss Shepherds. And they're fantastic for what they do. They're only 1 point apiece, and they're fairly easy to kill, being defense 14, armor garbage. And, there's a quarter case use for them in preventing enemy warcasters from ranged attacking you.
Look, that was a bad game.
But they're 1 point, and they can force your beast. They can manage the fury on those beasts, and if they need to, they can heal your beast.
Beast manipulation.
Additionally, they extend the range that you can run your beasts at. So your beast can be forced and be used outside of your Warlock's
control area. As long as they're within 8 inches.
They are a sort of arc node, but for control of range, I'd say. In a way,
I guess so.
Yeah.
That's all they do. Their melee attack is Mat 5 and.
Sorry,
their melee attack is Rat 5.
No, their melee attack is Mat 5 with POW 9. So if they ever kill anything, it'll be extremely surprising.
I've seen stranger things happen. It's got reach.
Yeah, the reach is...
It's speed 6 with reach, threatens 11 inches.
If something charges by, free strike, woo!
You charge in, you clear that, you charge in, you clear that charge lane, a Scythian goes through, you can force it because you're close enough now.
The Blighted Shepherd should never be in that position.
Shepherd OP, Legion disgusting.
And Shepherds can win you the game by tying up enemy warcasters.
It was a Warlock, you piece of shit. If you're gonna go on about it, at least get it right.
I like these little hidden stories.
We've told the story. I think we told it on camera.
I don't think we've told it on camera. No? We'll tell it later. It's fine.
Okay, well,
it's complicated, and this isn't the right video for it.
Shepherd OP. But that's basically it for the Legion All-in-One Army box. I think that this is a really, really good foundation for a Legion collection. It gives you so many options, and you get to learn how each beast works independently. You don't, you're not really stacking up on any one particular kind of beast, like I kind of tend to do. I like to take a lot of Carnivian chassis.
You don't have a lot of originality. You just spam the same things over.
I still feel like Legion shouldn't be a faction a player should start on, because I feel like with how powerful the beasts are, it's kind of a crutch faction.
I don't think so at all.
It's a crutch faction. Oh, it's I get to ignore 4 of the rules.
I disagree that it's a crutch faction. I agree that it's not the best faction to learn the game with, because you don't learn
those rules
about certain rules.
Okay, and that's fair.
Okay, so I'm being a bit harsh. I apologize, but yeah.
But at the same time, I think that it is for a Hordes faction. It teaches you a lot about having to manage your fury. It teaches you a lot about the interaction between beasts. Well, okay.
Are you high?
The Shepherds are going to die.
You can take Shepherds and Forsaken.
Okay.
You have access to 4 models.
Why don't we keep it with what's in the box, mate?
It doesn't teach you Legion. Now we're talking about Legion as a faction, and you're bullshitting about teaching about Fury manipulation.
No,
you have 2 shepherds in the box.
The thing is, though, I mean, I tend to run a lot of beasts.
Yeah,
in almost every list.
There's 4 in this box. You can give 3 of them 4 Fury.
Okay.
And the 4th 3 Fury.
Yep.
And use your shepherds and not max out Fury. If you use all of Saren's.
I guess if you were to use all of Saren's. But, I mean...
That's also an absurd use of Fury on 4 beasts.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to spend 15 Fury on my 4 beasts with no consequences whatsoever.
Okay.
You don't, like, you don't learn the rules.
But at the same time, I mean, savvy opponents are going to take out your shepherds pretty quick.
If you let them.
They are very hard to protect.
The fuck do you have... They don't have to be that close. You can block line of sight to them with the beasts that they're manipulating.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, is that it's not that hard to find a shot to them, and they're not stealth. They're relatively... I mean, I guess 14 defense is kind of high-ish.
It's pretty high.
And then...
It's high enough for telekinesis to miss.
Well, you rolled, like, snake eyes.
From a 7 Fury caster.
Oh.
Anyway,
when dice rolls go wrong.
I don't know. I feel like you can learn a fair amount through the Legion box. Now, that being said, it's not going to teach you as much about Fury manipulation as something like Trolls or Scorn, where their Warlocks tend to have fairly low Fury count, and their Beasts tend to... Like, I mean, in the case of Trolls, you've got Beasts with 5 Fury and a Warlock with 5 Fury.
You also have that in Scorn sometimes.
Sometimes. So they don't have as much freedom in terms of like what they can max out as Legion does. But I think because of that, Legion, you tend to run hot in a lot of cases, and sometimes it's easy to miss.
Let me make one small correction.
Play how many
Let me make one small correction. You tend to run hot a lot of times, and you tend to miscalculate how much Fury is left on your beasts.
I'm saying that it's easy for one to do.
Yes, it's easy for you to do. That's a warning, be careful. Don't be Steve. Don't do what Stevie Don't does.
Wait, what?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, anyway, thank you for watching this video. Please like, comment, subscribe. If you want to discuss this box, and if you think that it's a good place for a hordeling to start.
No, it's not.
I think it's a good place for people to start, especially if they're faction hopping, but like, you have access. It's not a bad place to start.
No.
It's a great place to start. If you want to mercilessly crush everyone, especially circle players.
No,
it's fine.
Don't
worry about it.
We're going to extend this conversation when we get to the Crix box.
No, we're going to extend this conversation when we get to the circle box. And I'm going to bitch about Legion the whole fucking time. The whole fucking time. It's going to be an hour of me bitching about Legion.
See, as much as you bitch about Legion, you're the first person to say, oh, well, I should just learn how to play it better.
Yeah, but yes. So?
I just think Legion's very strong,
I think
and their beats are a little unfair.
I just think Legion has a particular advantage against a lot of circle casters. I'm not saying they're even strong against the whole meta. I'm just saying, like, fucking Eyeless Sight. Go eat a giant fucking dick.
Thank you for watching. And, again, if you have any comments, please post them.
If you play Legion, stuff a Naga Night Lurker up your ass.
If you have a Naga Night Lurker, tell me how it's worked out for you, because I don't have one.
After you stick it up your ass.
I'd recommend not sticking it up your ass.
It's a little pointy.
It's pointy.
How do you know? You don't have one.
I've seen them.
You don't have one. How do you know?
It could be a hospital trip. You're telling people... What?
Bye, everybody!